Hey guys, welcome to Performance Anxiety. This week we feature the singer for Exodus, Generation Kill, and Fragile Mortals, and Volkswagen restoration artist Rob Dukes. He used to get drunk a lot. Weird stuff would happen. Then he got sober. That's when all the really weird stuff started happening. This show's full of rock bands getting kicked off of airplanes, getting pulled over in Germany, people getting fired, and finding out what really makes you happy. I really enjoyed talking with Rob. Give him a follow on social media. Check us out at Performance ANX on Twitter and Instagram. You can buy merch at performanceanx.threadless.com. Please subscribe, rate, and review. And without further ado, here's Rob Dukes.
This is Rob Dukes. I am currently the Generation Kill singer and Fragile Mortals singer for those two bands. I'm formerly of Exodus. I did 10 years with those guys and still hang out with them every now and again. Anyway, you're listening to Performance Anxiety. Have a good day.
Yeah, I'm good.
Well, I appreciate you getting up this early to hang out with me for a little bit.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, man.
I was doing some research on you, and you've got an interesting story going on. So you're born in Florida. Now,
Yeah.
How long... And then you moved to New York. What was the time frame there? What?
So I was like 6 or 5.
Okay, so you don't have a whole lot of Florida going on in you.
No, man. I mean, yeah, kind of, man. I'm still fucking white trash. So yeah, I have my moments, man. I do. I definitely have some white trash moments. I lived with my grandparents. And they were, they lived in a nice neighborhood and it was quiet and I rode my bike around and caught spiders and snakes and I lived near a zoo. And then there was also a lake, that was an alligator breeding, ground. So,
oh, wow.
I was always down there fucking with the alligators and snakes and it was a lake that was big time for those boat racing, like the big block boat racing.
Yeah,
so
the
even
power
as a
boats.
little kid, so I'd ride on there and see them all the time. It was called Lake Magori, and they had like TV shows would be there. Back before like everything was on TV. That I remember seeing cameras there at one point. It was called Lake Magori, and I lived like right across the street. I lived on Lake Magori Boulevard, so it was right there. And there was a Lake Magori Zoo.
Oh my God!
And so I definitely had. That's kind of where I lived, man. My grandparents they had they were cool people. They were they were drunk, so I kind of fended for myself mostly.
Oh wow!
As long as I didn't get in trouble, man, everything seemed to be okay. That's all I remember, and then I moved to New York, and it was definitely a culture shock because
oh yeah,
at the time I did have a Southern accent, because I grew up in the South, so and I moved to Queens, New York, and
oh wow, that's a change. Holy crap!
Yeah. So anyway,
all right. So you moved up to New York. Was your family pretty musical, or was that not in the picture at all?
Yeah, man. My uncle Logan, Logan Neal. He was a bluegrass musician, and he was phenomenal, man. He played
cool.
He played every string instrument. He was awesome, man. He played the banjo. He played guitar. He played viola. His wife played the stand-up bass.
Oh wow!
They had a bluegrass band called Whiskey Before Breakfast, and which is like
awesome.
Such an awesome name, man. Oh, dude, I love it. So I remember when I was about 8, he handed me a stack of records, and he goes, "Yeah, pick out the ones you like, and then give me back the ones you don't." And
cool.
I kept the Jimi Hendrix, the Doors, Pink Floyd, and Black Sabbath, and I gave him back the Grateful Dead, Yes. And I think I kept the Who too, and I gave him back all this Yes and progressive rock and stuff like that, and I gave him all that back. And so I had as an 8-year-old kid, I was my grandparents, like I said, they were drunks, and they they just sat and they drank themselves to death by the time I was like 17 years old. So,
wow.
I mean, a sad, tragic story. Very, very smart, very good people, but just alcoholics, you know? And they, so I spent most of my time alone. I don't remember having many friends, but I do remember having, my grandmother's, she had a Bill Cosby record, and I would listen to comedy, and she had a couple other ones. So I had comedy and I had music, and I wasn't really allowed to watch TV, so I read books. You know, I did have Mad Magazine. I had some other funny stuff to read, but I kind of just read books, man. And I'm still a prolific reader. I read a book a week at least.
Oh, awesome. And so, Mad Magazine folding, I mean, or suspending.
Yeah, man, that's the reason I brought it up, is I thought about it. I was like, oh, man, I used to fucking read that. Like, I got one every week, man, and I fucking read it, you know? So I listen to music constantly. I had headphones, and I had a decent turntable at the time. And I remember you ever had to change a needle on one of those?
Oh, yeah.
So I remember, like, that's how much I was into it, was I had, and then the radio, like FM radios, would play, and I would like sit there. I had the first time you have like the boom box with the dual cassette.
Yes.
I remember sitting there with the record and the play button down, sitting with the pause button, my finger on it, waiting for a good song to come on so I could fucking wait for the DJ to shut the fuck up.
That's exactly my childhood.
Oh yeah, man. So that's kind of what I did, and I did that. You know, I did that until I found girls at, 16, 17. You know what I mean? It's kind of, I rode my bike around. I caught reptiles. I was, I couldn't keep any in my house, dude. I'll tell you this really funny story. I must have been about 9 years old, and it was early in the morning, man. I was riding to the beach. So I lived near St. Pete Beach, near enough that I could ride my bike there.
Okay.
So I was on my way to the beach, and I'm on my bike, and all of a sudden I come up in this section of trees over by the zoo, because you'd have to go past the zoo to get to the beach. There was this web, and I'm not even fucking joking you, because I was a little kid, but I remember it. It was 10 feet by 10 feet. It was this huge fucking spider web, thick too. Like if you ran through it, would have been like, you'd have been like Indiana Jones when he was running from the ball. Yeah. I stop my bike. I go, what the fuck, man? And, I get a stick and I shake the fucking web, and this spider comes out, and it was as big as my adult hand. Dude, it was that big. It was this gigantic spider. I don't remember what kind it was. I remember it was yellow, and it had yellow in it and some green, and it was huge. It wasn't a tarantula. It was probably a tarantula of sorts, but whatever it was the biggest fucking spider I've ever seen. So I fucking fly home, and I get a shoebox. And I fucking get a shoebox, and I go back, and I catch this spider, and I put it in the shoebox, and I ride home with it. Oh, and I get home, and my grandmother comes out. She goes, "What are you doing?" And I go, I caught a spider. I'm gonna let it go, so maybe it'll live around here in the trees or something." And she goes, "Let me see it." And I open the box, and she goes, "Ah!" She picked up like a flat, like from the walkway, and just smashes it. Kills the spider. And she chased me around the yard with what you guys know what a switch is? Oh yeah. I had a Southern grandmother. So she got a switch, man, and she was trying to beat me with the switch, and I was just laughing and running from her. And she killed my spider that I was gonna let it. I didn't want to kept it in a cage. I wanted him to live in my yard. So I was just relocating him.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I think I can picture the spider. When I lived in Alabama, we'd get big banana spiders like that. They were huge. And they would
probably, man. I mean, I'm going to say this thing was 10 inches in diameter. It was a plate, a dinner plate. Oh God! And the body was as big as fucking bigger than a shot glass. I mean, it was yeah. So anyway, it's a fucking little. I hadn't thought of that, and dude, I haven't thought of that story in fucking 10 years.
Well, that's what this show's about. Yeah. So I love doing it. All right, so you moved to New York, and you've got a musician uncle.
He gave me records.
Gave you records. When did you start playing music?
So so I lived in New York. I would, I still had my mom had gotten remarried, and I had moved in with my mother.
Okay.
And she had this husband, and he was a musical. He was an album collector. He had probably 1,000 albums.
Oh, wow.
So I went through his collection, man, and he had obscure Who records. He told me a story once that he was at a bar. He went to see the Janis Joplin and Jimi Hendrix, and he was there, and it was at the Fillmore East, and he ordered a beer. And at the time, he was like a big guy. He was like 220, and he was, a little under 6 foot, but he was kind of a big guy, but he was a little bit crazy too.
Yeah.
At the time, and at this era in his life. And he ordered a beer, and then some guy like grabbed the beer and was like, "Thanks, mate." And he almost beat the shit out of him, and it was Pete Townsend.
Oh, my God.
So he hung out at the Fillmore East. He goes pretty much every weekend. He saw every band there was ever to see. So he had this killer music. He had, I remember falling in love with Mike Bloomfield.
Yes.
A lot of old blues stuff. He had a lot of blues records, but he had a big, huge Who collection. So I'm about 9 years old, right, at this time. So I'm listening to the Who and Bloomfield, and I found Frank Zappa.
Oh, nice.
And, Captain Beefheart, which was a little hard to grasp at the time, but I got it later on.
Yeah.
And then, but he also had other weird stuff, man. He had David Peel and the Marijuanas. He had, he just had like this killer music collection. So
wow.
Now but he also had a lot of soul stuff, and I never really gravitated to it. I appreciated it, but I didn't really gravitate to it. So, I found David Bowie, but he wasn't really into it. He had it because it was popular at that time to own that. But he also had Alice Cooper, which honestly, I didn't grab it. I didn't like Alice Cooper just went by me, and I missed it.
Yeah, I'm the same way with Alice.
They gave me, so I was, my mom got me a Kiss record, and, of course, as you're a kid, you're interested in it. They didn't take off the makeup yet, so it was something interesting.
Yeah.
I never really liked the music, but I liked the aspect of the comical part of it.
Man, thank you for saying that.
I don't think it was intentional by them, but to me, it was always it was just a show, so.
Thank you for saying that, because I always felt the same way about Kiss. Like, if you just take the makeup away, I never really cared for the music all that much.
I mean, they had a song here and then that was good. Like 100,000 Years was all right. They had Parasite was kind of cool. They had songs that I Love Gun I like now because I put it to that movie. It's about his dick, man. What movie is it? Role Models. So like I get it now. Like there are things that I attach to it now that I enjoy about it. But if it comes on, I'll listen. I won't turn it off. But I'll never put on Kiss because I want. Oh, I want to listen to Kiss. No, that never happened. Not once in my life did that happen. So, all I did was listen to music. That's all I did. I read music. I listened to music, and I read books, and I did both at the same time. I was a decent student. I was a C student. I could have been an A, but I didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Because nothing.
I know that story.
I remember being in school. I remember arguing with my guidance counselor. I was like, "Why are you making me take a French class? I have no interest to speak another language. Why don't you just let me take an art class where I get an A every fucking semester?" Because I enjoy it, and that's where I want to be. I want to be an artist. Like, let me go into that. And I remember arguing, and it went on for weeks and weeks and weeks, and finally, I didn't have to take French anymore. They just let me out of it. Like I was like an exceptional. They let me. They made an exception. Like, you're not allowed to tell anybody, but we're going to do this because. Yeah. So I had one decent, and Mr. Tyrossi did that for me. He was a math teacher who was also a guidance counselor. And he, for some reason, he liked me, you know what I mean? And I remember he said, "Dude, you know what you need to do? If you're going to go to college, which I don't think you're gonna, but if you decide to, before you go to college, you need to buy a motorcycle and drive across the country." And I said, "Okay."
Oh, wow.
So
Little foreshadowing.
Mr. Triossi, or is it Tyrossi or Triossi? Oh, fuck, I don't remember. It's one or the other. He was really cool. He looked like the dude from the original Death. Charles Bronson. That's what he looked like.
Oh,
short,
wow.
stocky, mustache. Yeah, he was awesome, man. He was an awesome dude.
Well, he probably won't be listening. So.
Yeah, no, he won't be listening. But anyway, I never forget him. He made an impact on me. Honestly, man, I was a serious kind of a loner, man. I didn't have any friends. I was always kind of misplaced. I was picked on a lot. I was little and skinny, and up until I was about 17, the summer between 17 and 18, all I did was lift weights and eat, and then all of a sudden I was fucking jacked, and I remember going to some party. It was like a party with it's some dude's house who I'd never been friends with, like a jock guy or whatever, and I remember somebody said something, and I just beat the living fuck out of him. And after that, everyone kind of left me alone after that.
Yeah, I probably would too.
Yeah, I had one friend. I had one friend toward the end of school, and me and him hung out pretty much 24/7. He liked music as much as I did. So, but before that, I was about 15, and my grandmother. My aunt came to visit me, and my grandmother had bought me a guitar for my aunt to give to me as a present on the visit.
Oh, awesome!
So I learned a couple chords, and started listening to at the time I was listening to like Sex Pistols and Misfits and stuff that was easy to play on the guitar, and I started trying to mimic that. I tried playing the blues. I could play a little bit, but I was always just a kind of a shitty guitarist. I was never very good. I was at my best. I was mediocre,
Okay.
And I was a better rhythm guitar player than I was at doing leads and solos and stuff. And so, but I enjoyed playing. It was something I could do alone. I didn't need anybody, and I could just sit there and enjoy myself. And I started smoking pot around 17, 16. I also started drinking at 15, and I started drinking heavily. I was an alcoholic right from the start.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, with your grandparents, drinking all that.
Yeah, it was kind of in the, it was kind of in my DNA, I guess, So anyway, so I started drinking. So I became known as a drunk, and I drank for the next 10 years. I drank absolutely alcoholically and crazy. I drank for only to get drunk, and I did that. And on my 25th birthday, I got really, really drunk. It lasted. I drank for like 3 days.
Oh my gosh!
March 13th, 1993 was the last time I ever had a drink. I quit drinking that day, and it was Friday the 13th. I was in New York. A huge snowstorm happened, and that was the last time I drank, and I've been sober ever since.
Oh, man, that's awesome! Congratulations. This
is one of those things, man. Yeah,
that's a long time, man. That takes some determination, especially going into a profession where that's pretty prevalent.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, even the band I was in was, it's just one of those things where, it was a personal choice. So I never really gave shit what anybody else did unless it affected me. And right. I have tons of drunken Exodus stories, man, where they were just, they were all partiers and they weren't alcoholics. So to be around it was fine. I rarely had moments where it bothered me. There were a few moments. But for the most part, man, it was just fun. They never really crossed any boundaries with me. I had, there was always a way out. I always had a bunk to go sleep in and get away from everybody if I felt like it. I had earplugs and headphones, and if The only time it ever came to a head was we were on tour in Europe, and they were drinking like a bottle of Jaeger before they even went on stage. And
Oh, jeez.
they were making mistakes. Now, through the years, they had never done that. They'd always they'd always drank water or maybe a beer or two, and then as they were playing, they would drink a couple more beers. So by the end of the set, they might have drank 3 or 4, maybe 5 beers. But
Okay.
now they were doing shots. It started out as, let's do a shot before the show starts, and then that escalated into a bottle of Jaeger before they even walked on stage with beer. So they were making mistakes like in the first 2 songs, and they were making mistakes. And when I said it, they all got real defensive, and we got into this fucking screaming army. I'll never forget it. It was screaming. It was fuck you, fuck it. And then the next day, Rob, you were right. We're sorry. We won't do that anymore. So, and then it stopped and everything was fine. So that was the only time that, that I ever asked, because it's one thing that if it doesn't affect me, I don't give a fuck. I really don't. Right. So that's kind of how it worked. And so I'll tell you one crazy story. It affected me, but more in a comical way than anything else was.
Oh boy.
We were going to Europe for 6 weeks, and this was early. This was like 2007, right? So 2007, and we're going to Europe, and at the time, the way a lot of bands do it was they get equipment and they rent a storage space, and they have it filled with all the gear they need to tour Europe with. So ours was like in Germany. So we would fly, no matter where we were touring, we would try to start it in Germany, because we would fly to Germany, get our bus and our trailer, load it with all our gear, and then go.
Okay.
Well, this was like when Exodus was setting itself back up to learn how to start touring again, because they hadn't toured in years.
All
so they didn't have any equipment over there. So we were at the airport with heads and fucking multiple guitars and sound equipment. The drummer had cymbals and snare we had one of those carts. We had 2 of those carts filled with gear.
Oh my God.
And we get to the airport, and the promoter had not bought our tickets. They hadn't paid for them in full. So we get to the airport at like 6 a.m. to fly at 8, and we didn't have any tickets.
Oh my God.
They make calls, they scramble. Our fucking tour manager is there. He's freaking out. We're all just kind of sitting there, and I'm fucking, this is pre-cell phone. Well, there's cell phones, but we don't use them like we do now.
Yeah.
So he's scrambling. So they get the flight straightened out. They get them paid for and all that, but we're not leaving till 8 o'clock that night. So now there's a 12-hour delay.
Gee,
right?
Oh God.
So we have all this equipment. So Jack, the bass player, he says, well, I'm going to fuck home. And he got on the train and he went home. So me, Lee, and Gary, and Paul. Paul left too. Paul left. He came back, but he left. Me, Gary, Lee, and the tour manager leave. We stay at the airport with all the equipment, and we go to TGI Fridays.
Okay.
Right? And we're sitting there, and I'm like, 12 hours. We're like fucking complaining and blah. So they start drinking, right?
Oh boy.
And so I go walk around the airport. I go read a book. I try to find the most comfortable chair I could find. I waste 12 hours of dicking around, because I actually at the time live in Los Angeles. So I flew to San Francisco to rehearse for a week, and then was just leaving with those guys, right? So I'm not even near my house.
Yeah, you really had nowhere to go anyway.
Yeah, man. So I'm just sitting there. So anyway, I'm come back a few hours later, and they are fucking shit-faced. It's like noon.
Oh,
and they are fucking drunk. So I hang out for a bit. I eat.
I fucking chill. All right, I'm gonna go do something else, and I just went and read and hung up on myself. I came back at like 5 p.m. Now they're sitting there. They have every shot glass at the table from the bar is at their table, and they're clean. As I said, I go, "What do you guys have? Every shot glass?" They were getting their drinks and adding 3 or 4 shots to it. They were so drunk. I've never seen them this drunk ever. Lee to this day says it was the number one drunk he's ever been in, and he's a Ukrainian crazy Eastern Bloc drinking. He'll drink a bottle. He'll drink anyone I know under the table, and he is fucking housed. They got this guy who's going off to Afghanistan to go to war. He's sitting there and he's buying round after round after round. They got some girl's on her way to Hawaii. She's sitting there doing drinks and drinking and fucking everyone is just fucking hammered. And I'm like, man, what the fuck? And it's like, it's actually everyone's having a good time. It's just everyone's just really, really drunk. Now me and the tour manager we ready to go put our gear in. So me and him take the 2 things. Now it's like a couple hours before boarding. So we take all the gear and we go back to the gate and we say, you guys stay here. We'll take care of it. We wheel all the equipment back. We get it all checked in. Come back with the tickets. Everybody's happy. Hey, now they're fucking shit-faced. As me and his name was Durder at the time. So Durder was the tour manager. So we're sitting there and all of a sudden an ambulance pulls up and goes flying into the airport, right?
Okay.
We're still standing there. We're checking in. And all of a sudden, we see the ambulance come out, and the girl that was on her way to Hawaii for vacation is on a stretcher being put into an ambulance.
Oh, my God.
For alcohol poisoning.
Oh, my God. What?
We're like, what the fuck?
Oh, my God.
So we go back to the table. They're like, oh, yeah, she was shit-faced, man. She got sick, and then they tried to take her to the gate, but she got up. And they're all like, they're all just hammered.
Oh, my God.
I go, well, it's time to go to the gate, right? So we go to the gate. We check in. Lee and Gary are just fucking shit-faced. And Jack shows up and Paul. Now, those guys start drinking, but they're no way near in the shape that these two are.
Right.
Right next to our gate was a bar. And Lee walks up, orders a 3-finger shot of Patron and a Long Island iced tea.
Oh, boy.
He fucking does that. Shoo. Now he is toast. He is a blank slate of just... He can't talk to him. He just is he is gone.
Oh, God.
So I'm holding on to him like, Lee, you need to keep it together. We're trying to get on the plane, right?
Oh, my God.
I'm good. So we get on the plane. I get I'm a couple people ahead, and I get to my seat, and it was a window seat, and there were 2 people that were sitting here next to me, and I didn't know them. And Gary's behind me, laughing, making a scene.
Oh, God.
Jack and Paul over there being quiet, embarrassed. Jack was up front. Jack was all the way like 10 seats for. So I got my book out. I'm ready to read my book, and Lee sees me. He's gonna sit behind me. Dukes, I love you, man. And he decides to hug me, laying over these people. And he's got hair down to his waist.
Oh,
he's got
God.
a big beard. He's just a big, crazy-looking person. The lady freaks out.
Oh,
Freaks. He's laying across her to give me a hug. And then he gets up and he's laughing. And then he sits. The lady gets up and leaves. Then I see the fucking pilot guy coming. I'm like, oh, no. So he says, you got to get off the plane. He's like, what? And Lee's like, what? I go, hold on. Dude, look. I go, ma'am, he's just really drunk. He's going to be asleep in 5 seconds. Yeah. And he's going to sleep until we get to Germany. Yeah. And she wasn't having it.
Oh.
Right? So I get up. The pilot takes me off the plane. We talk. I go, look, he'll be fine. Just let him go to sleep, man. He's already asleep now. He was already fucking out. So We're on the plane. I go back to the seat. The woman, I said, I'm really sorry about that, man. We had a delay for like hours, and they got a little drunk, but he's going to sleep. He's fine. She goes, I'm not flying on the plane if he's going to be on the plane. And the pilot goes, you guys got to get off the plane.
Oh, God.
So I pick up. I'm like, what the fuck, man? Jeez. So Lee is just – now he's hammered, and they're calling the police.
Oh,
now the police are coming. They're throwing me and Lee off the plane, or throwing Lee off the plane. I'm just going with him because I have to. Yeah. And then Gary stands up and he goes, what the fuck is going on, man? Like, what the fuck? And this guy goes, hey, man, I have little kids. Can you not curse? And Gary goes, fuck you. And the guy stands up and punches Gary in the face.
Oh, jeez.
Dude, all this mayhem breaks out. And I get Gary off the plane. I get Lee off the plane. And Jack is like, Jack tells me he was sitting in his seat. And these two, like, teenagers were next to him. And the teenagers go, dude, what fucking band are you guys? And he goes, Exodus. And he fucking walked off the plane. So fucking, we get off the plane and the cops are there. So now the police are standing at the gate where we're getting off the plane. And I was like, Lee and Gary, I was like, both of you, don't say a fucking word or you're going to go to jail. And they both just kind of, now they're both kind of like, oh no. Like they know, like they're in that, I want to do anything. I just want to go to sleep. They don't give a fuck what is happening. They just want to go to sleep. Dude, your mom's on fire. I don't give a fuck. I got to go to sleep. I'll deal with it in the morning, and then I'm done. So they're going to arrest the guy for assault on Gary because Gary told him, fuck you, when he asked him to not curse in front of his kids. I said, don't arrest that guy. Let him back on the plane and get our shit off the plane, and we'll figure it out. But leave that guy the fuck alone because deserved to be left alone. Because Gary had it coming. He says it to this day. I did. I had it coming.
Oh, wow.
So Gary's sitting there, the cops. So we're trying to straighten all this out, and the cop says, hey, what band are you guys? And I said, we're fucking Exodus, man. We're on our way to Europe. We got like 6 weeks of touring to do, and this is day one. And they're like, Jesus Christ. So he gets on the phone, and he calls back, and he goes, dude, my son's a huge fan, man. Can I get a picture with all you guys? And we're like, so we're standing here with the cops. We have a picture of us with the cops at the San Francisco airport. Everyone's hammered, and I'm holding Lee up. He's fucking sleeping. He's like... So now we're talking like this plane is delayed like it's now like 9:30. This plane was supposed to leave at 8. It's an hour. They finally get all our shit off the plane.
Oh God!
They bring it to me at the gate. I wheel the stuff now. So Delta red flagged us. So we got another flight with another company in the morning. So they had to wait until like 8 a.m., which means we were going to miss our first show. We're paying for a bus to exist that we're not using. So, like, this is like a catastrophic money expense.
Yeah.
Plus, we're missing a huge festival that we were playing. So, I go back with all the gear. I wheel it down. I find Lee. I have the picture. It's in my old phone. He is sleeping under the chairs. You know the chairs because they make them, they put the armrest so you can't lay on them?
Yeah, yeah.
He's laying on the floor in the fetal position, and he's just groaning. And so the next morning at 6 a.m., I wake everyone up at like 4:30. I get them to the gate, and we get on the plane, and we fly to Europe. And we miss our first show. So we get to our second show. We go to the second show, and we're there. And everyone's now trying to recover from the first night of debacle. So we're in Switzerland, and it happened to be the merch girl Erin's birthday. So everyone went. So we went to the club we were playing the next night, and they started drinking.
Oh no!
To try to get over the hangover that they're in. So they started drinking, and everyone. So it wasn't really. They didn't get hammered, but they got it. They just got evened out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Erin, it was her birthday. She got hammered. So we're all sleeping on the bus at a. In Europe, you can't sleep at the club. We partied at the club, but we were parked at it's like a bus commuter lot, And it's where all the tour buses park, and they have hookups for your electric, and you just kind of sit there and you wait so you can go play the next day.
Okay.
So I was totally asleep, and she must have got sick and was puking in the parking lot, and a cop saw her and came over to investigate. And next thing you know, man, the bus is full of fucking Swiss cops.
Oh my God.
It's like 6 a.m. The sun's coming out. Now they're dragging everyone off the bus. They bring no less than 6 cop cars.
Oh.
They have us all sitting outside on the ground, on the curb, and they take our bus completely apart and the trailer. They open every guitar case. They open every little thing. They open every drawer of every guitar rig cabinet they have. They take everything out on. It's all laid out in the parking lot, man. Tourists are taking pictures of us standing there in my boxer shorts, purposely sitting there with my dick hanging out like this when people would take pictures. Just fuck you. I'm yelling at the cops. I'm like, what the fuck? And at one point, they like, I'll never forget it, guys. I go, what are you looking for? He goes, well, we read about you guys. We're looking for crystal meth. And I was like, dude, it's not the 80s, man.
Yeah.
It's 2000. We don't do that anymore, man.
Oh my God.
So they find a pot cookie. That was all they found.
Oh my gosh.
$250 fine. Dude, there was a point where I was I had to take a piss. I'm like, I gotta take a piss. And they're like, okay, we're gonna follow. I go, you can see that I'm wearing no shirt and boxer shorts. I'm like, what? So he's standing over me. I go, you like my dick? You like it, right? And he's just mad. He wants to arrest me. And I'm like, what are you going to arrest me for? I'm like, you're standing over my shoulder. You think I'm going to throw it down the fucking toilet at this point?
Yeah.
I go, it was fucking craziness, mayhem from the fucking start, right? So at one point, this was funny. So they pull up with this weird looking truck. It's a van. And it's like a little chemical lab. And they were taking all our pills out of our, I had a bottle of Tylenol PM.
Okay, yeah.
They took them all out and were testing them to make sure they were Tylenol PM.
Oh my.
So they took they tested them. I don't know what they did to them, but they put them in the bottle. And the guy handed it to me and I opened it and poured it on the ground and dropped the bottle.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
Really? Like, you motherfucker? You know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah.
So Jack, the bass player, Jack Gibson, he's a special kind of guy.
That's a good way to put it.
So I would go to Europe and I would buy a pack of socks and I would wear them once and throw them away. And Jack would do his laundry. He would find laundry spots and I didn't do my laundry. I wore the same shit on stage every night, which smelled awful. And I basically wore like just comfortable clothes. Like I would wear like a t-shirt for a couple days and then I'd get rid of it and I'd put on another one, cause you don't really, not really doing a lot, man. You know what I mean? I had at the time I was running at the time. So I had like a running set of clothes and stuff.
Okay.
And maybe I'd wash them in the sink by hand and then let them dry out. But I would hardly ever do my laundry unless it was really easy to do. Like, oh, here's a machine, go ahead and do it. But Jack was obsessed, and he would he would pack and he would set it up. So he had individually packed soap to do laundry with. So if he found a laundry place, which in Europe there aren't laundromats anywhere.
Oh, really?
Like, they're really few and far between. Like every once in a while you'll come across one, but I remember we were so desperate to do our laundry at the end of this tour one time. It'd been like we've been there for like 2 months, and the singer and guitar player of a Dark Funeral let us come to his house in Sweden and do our laundry. And we go to his house. Now I think we're going to Dark Funeral. I mean, he's such a nice guy. But I assumed his house was going to be like this dark, fucking evil, fucking
castle.
It's just a regular house with a laundry room. It was crazy. And we hung out. We had lunch. We talked and we hung out for a couple hours and did our laundry. And then, all right, man, I'll see you later. And then we left.
My God.
Michael's he's a very good guy. Dark Funeral's the music's a little heavy for me. I don't really. I listen to it occasionally if it comes out if it comes when I'm doing like a shuffle.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've ever said, I'm going to listen to some Dark Funeral right now. It's just not that. I'm just not that guy. But I appreciate it, and I like him a lot. He's a really good band. And if you like black metal from Sweden, man, Dark Funeral and Hypocrisy are two bands that are really fucking good. So
I feel like I'm a lot like you in that sense, where if it comes on, probably not going to turn it off, but I'm not going to it.
Yeah,